I would like to start off with a challenge. To anyone listening, anywhere in the world, wherever you are, I challenge you. Find someone who does not enjoy a good dinner. You won't find them anywhere. Even if they don't already have good dinners, if they were to have a good dinner, they would enjoy it. So that's my challenge, but you won't find anyone. That is the challenge. Everybody loves a good dinner. I'm sorry, that's not the question. I asked you, the question was, do you believe in this COVID bullshit? I think I'm on the wrong podcast. I'm supposed to do the podcast where we talk about fun, quirky dishes to cook during quarantine. Yes, and I explained you want the BBC? Yeah, and their address is 150 Pedophile Avenue. This is Freedom Street, man. We run perpendicular. Freedom Street. Welcome to Freedom Street. I hope you guys are doing well. I've not done a public video in a while, and I apologize for that, but there's a couple reasons, and they're both good, and they're both valid and essential and viable. Viable! For the patrons, I've done my weekly videos for them, so I've kept in contact with them, so they know a lot more about what's going on than I do, or than you do. But let me fill you in. But thank you guys for your comments and your support and just watching these things, whatever the hell these are, these Freedom Street videos. But I hadn't finished Paradise Lost Book 12, and I took 3 days off for Christmas because I felt this year was more important than ever to celebrate Christmas with the missus and my neighbor who came up and had a great Christmas, despite all of this obvious desire to kill joy in the world today. So I had Christmas and New Year's, and so I had to press pause on Paradise Lost and pick it up. And I was angry at myself because I'd said from the beginning that it'll be done in October, and then it just got more and more elaborate, and it had to take the amount of time it did. But I finished book 12 last night. All the books are finished, and now I'm going to devote a week to remastering or slight remastering of all the books, but I'm going to be very strict. I'm going to say, to myself, like, you enjoyed this at the time you heard this with all the sound effects. So just very basic, long stretches, bring up or down the volume, and that's it. And then film the arguments, the introductory paragraphs to each book, and somehow figure out a way to sew it all together in, I guess, is it a 14-hour movie file it's going to be? With all the paintings of Blake and Gustav Doré, and I would like to have this released by the end of the month, because it's time to be free of it. But that's what I was doing. After New Year's, it was like, drill down and get this done, and I'll talk about that in a bit, and how that relates to specifically the corrupt church leadership in this country. And how the Church of England invests in Amazon. That's something I learned in my research for Book 12, actually, because I wanted to include sound bites of the current creeps who have taken control of this world. And I didn't know that the Church of England invests in Amazon. And to justify it, they say things like, we feel it's more important to be in the room with these companies as shareholders rather than on the outside trying to affect change. That's why you invest in Amazon. I see. You invest in Amazon because you want to affect positive change in the world. Well, I must be a fucking moral scumbag then, because I'm not affecting any change. All I do is go in shops without a mask and yell about communism and fascism. But you do something really important. You get in the boardroom with these fuckers to affect change. Slimy cocksuckers. Anyway, we'll get to that in a bit. And the other reason I hadn't done a video was I could not shake this feeling since the new year that the bad guys are losing. And I apologize for the lighting quality. It's something that happens on these laptops, this laptop camera when the sun hasn't even set. It's one of those gray English days. But you know what? There's fun, quirky things to do on a gray English day. We're in lockdown anyway. What I like to do is a little thing called a balance act. Wix and Russell Brand and all this bullshit. Drives you mad, doesn't it, sometimes? Russell Brand, why did I bring him up? Oh, because he's a fence straddler. I don't know. I mean, should you take the vaccine? Should you not take the vaccine? I'm just waiting to see which way the world goes so I can still have a career. I don't care. I'm saying right from the beginning, I'm never taking the vaccine. I won't get a test. I won't be tracked and traced, and I will not put a fucking mask on my face. I'm nailing my colors to that mask along with so many good people around the world. right now. And I wish there were more in this town. I got to tell you, sometimes it's really fucking lonely in this town. You know, they just, I don't know. They said put on a mask. Yes, they said, and who the fuck are they? Who told you to put on a mask? Matt Hancock. And does he walk on water? What's wonderful about Matt Hancock? What makes you want to get a fucking framed poster of him and hang it up in your room and say, he said do this? Take your pick. Chris Whitty? No, he is the color of gammon. Why are people not calling him gammon? He's the color of gammon. You know, the gammon insult they used out here in England for a while for Brexit voters. Say, gammon, oh, gammon. They call it West Ham man, the gammon. Chris Whitty, he is the color of gammon. He's an uncooked piece of pork that goes out and says mutant virus. And the optimist in me, say this is the naive optimist in me, compared to my girlfriend's, I say healthy skepticism. See, we're both working class. She's working class London. I'm working class Missouri. So the working class Missourian in me, I hear them say a brand new strain of mutant virus, and I think that's it. They've lost. They've lost. They're going to the comic books now, and they're saying mutant, and it's weaponized itself. They've lost. And then the next day we're going to go out in the shops. Nobody's going to be in masks. What I was believing in them, and then they said mutant, and then I was like, And my girlfriend, with her London healthy working class skepticism, says no, more people believed it. It had the opposite effect. And they didn't, and they denied themselves Christmas, and they denied themselves New Year's because of the scary comic book word mutant. And I thought it would have the opposite effect because I want to believe that people are not this fucking dumb. You don't even need to watch conspiracy theory videos. You just have to watch their news. Just watch, if you watch Sky, but only watch it if you have self-respect, common sense, and an understanding of how important free will is to the human individual. Then watch Sky, and you'll see what utter fucking lies this all is. This is nothing but a marketing campaign. Now, if you don't have any of these things, if you don't have a moral compass or common sense or even a sense of self-worth, which is the basic fundamental thing, to love and cherish this gift of life, not existence, not just when I want to be a limpet. I want to be a limpet. Sorry, limpet. I want to be a limpet. I rarely say that word. I want to be a limpet on the Earth's surface. I just want to let me exist. You could put anything in my body and I don't give a fuck anymore. Just let me, with a screen, preferably a screen, and just let me just breathe one more day. No, if I did 1/5 of what these fucking global government cocksuckers wanted me to do, just 1/5 of this, life would not be worth living. The mask alone, it would not be worth living to walk around in a fucking mask. To commute, it's worth living now. For me, but it's fucking pretty miserable some days. I don't want to make eye contact with people in a mask, and that's not the type of person I am. I like to look people in the eye. Like I'm not a weak little shrimpy person. I like to make eye contact with people, but I can't look at you if you're in a fucking mask. This is stupid. Anyway, that's so. But then, like I say, I couldn't shake this feeling, despite people denying themselves, because we held a midnight mass outside of this locked church, and I don't know if I mentioned it here, but I called a vicar the day before from the C of E, and I hadn't spoken to a vicar since this thing kicked off. All I saw was this decrepit Justin Welby saying, getting on, oh, it's quirky doing Easter Mass from my kitchen on Zoom. Yes, and you fucking invest in Amazon, you slimy fucking bastard. And you could have used your position to have been a light unto the world when your own people are being, not your own people, but your own parishioners are being enslaved. I don't consider myself a C of E parishioner. I mean, I went to C of E services. I never will again. This is fucking embarrassing. It's just shameful what they've done. There's a church around the corner has put up a sign, due to coronavirus, This church is now closed. Sadly, it is too dangerous to open. The Reverend Bob Weldon. They don't even do any lip service to it, but don't worry, we'll be back. We'll be back in spring. Don't lose faith. There's not a single positive message. Just the fucker took it on his own. This fucker that comes from an institution that invests in Amazon because they believe it's an ethical duty. It has nothing to do with money. They feel like it's their role as the Church of England to be sitting in the boardroom with big tech cocksuckers to effect change from within. And this little fucking rat puts a fucking sign up that says, sadly, it's too dangerous to open. Well, you're going to be taken care of no matter what because your investments are sound. And us little peasants, we're not moral. We can never be moral like the Church of England because we can never get our fucking act together to buy up shares of Amazon. Like you people, you good ethical fuckers. Let's see, the Nobel Peace Prize this year, should it go to Pfizer for the work they've done on the vaccine, or the Church of England for sitting in boardrooms with Amazon to effect change from within, or to all the motherfucking people who have been hassled and beaten and shoved to the ground by police this year because they believed in something called maybe a constitution in America or English common law out here. And they weren't ready to be fucking tracked and traced and treated like fucking cattle doomed to slaughter. Will they get the award? No. The choices again are Pfizer for the groundbreaking work on the vaccine or the Church of England for helping to keep these companies like Amazon in line. Keep them in line. So I can't wait for you guys to hear Paradise Lost. I can't wait for you to hear. But I couldn't shake the feeling that they were losing because I just stopped watching this shit altogether. I read the BBC headlines maybe twice a day. Just to say, and I'll say to myself before I do, what are the brainwashers saying? And I haven't done this yet. So let me think. I have a new patron. I think it's Paul. Let's just think Paul, Brian, and I was gonna do. Hey, how are you? See, I hate checking the email. You guys under lockdown? What a strange question. No, we're the one country that. Yes, we're under lockdown. Yes, and we're going to be under lockdown forever because there's too many stupid people around here that believe that this will end. Oh, well, at least there's hope in April with 2 million vaccinations a week. At least there's hope. Is there? So basically, they took away your job, your loved ones, your Christmas and your Easter before that. They took it all away, and they're going to give it back to you with the caveat that you get a little in your arm. Wonderful people, aren't they? As long as we do what the kidnapper says. I'm sure he's a lovely bloke. He was real nice after we gave him the ransom. Oh, just lovely. Yeah, he even took the cords off our wrist. Let us go. Well, within reason. He wanted to keep an eye on us for a while. Installed these cameras in our home. They're nice cameras. I can't really say much now, but nice. He was nice. Once we gave him the ransom, he was nice. Somebody wants me to do some more. I have to teach a course on satire to some to New Zealanders on Sunday, and oh boy. Somebody wants me to do some transcription work. Take it where you can get it. I'm going to get back to Paradise. Let me get back to this notion of optimism. And I'm sorry this was so cocky wobbly today. I haven't done one in a few weeks. I'm out of practice. I should do something silly. I went to start off silly. I had this. It must have been looking at the BBC one day because they love to run these stories like things to cook in lockdown. Yes. Getting used to it, are you? Yes. And you want us to get used to it as well. Let's all get used to it. And fun things to cook and new ways to enjoy nobody around. You can live with a mannequin, for example, or a laptop. We get the message. You hate humanity. We get it. I thought they were losing everything because they said mutant. I thought that meant they lost. You had to say mutant. Nobody was listening to you. And then I saw Preeti Patel come out and she said because of a a small minority of rule breakers. And I said, nah, you fuckers are losing. You are losing now, because you know damn well this is not a minority, you scared, sniveling bitch. What a creep she is, isn't she? Fucking hell. We are not afraid to enforce the rules. There's no new rules today or tomorrow, but there might be next week. Yeah, we get it, you fucking psychotic school marm. Fucking lunatic. Free school. So this is what are the brainwashers saying today? Free school meals won't be available at half term. I guess the androids or the AI told them, you don't need to feed the children. Children do not need food. I was thinking, I don't want to talk about my uncle passed away, and I don't want to talk about that too. I shared about it mostly with the patrons, but he was denied human contact, and his cancer operation was put back nearly a fucking year because of the COVID shit. And in that time, the cancer had spread from his bladder to his bones. A fucking year went by because of this COVID shit. He was a good, decent Missouri man, and he wasn't allowed to see anybody. They could only park at the car park and walk up and wave to him through the window. And you're going to tell me that did not accelerate his death? This otherwise healthy man who exercised, didn't smoke, was always trying to get me to quit smoking. I know of a suicide this year, and I don't know if it's connected or not, but I know people that have died this year that had nothing to fucking do with COVID. Whereas I don't know anybody that's died of COVID. I know that according to the BBC, Andy Murray has just been diagnosed with it though. So, for those tennis fans out there that thinking about Andy, what's it feel like to be diagnosed with COVID? Well, I think as soon as I get COVID taken care of, I'll be back there on the courts with the mask and just hitting the ball back and forth to myself, and because I got a social distancing on the tennis court and all that. I've never heard. I know he cried once, and that's okay. I don't have anything against crying. If I'd won the tennis championship, I would have cried too. Especially since I don't know how to play tennis. I would have been like, how the hell did this happen? I don't even know what a racket is. I would have cried too. High Street Chemist. It's just madness. I mean, it's fucking madness. But I was, when you watch them, they do look so crazy. There was a fucker, what I'll do for dinner, when I'm finished with Paradise. I just have to do the remastering and all this other, the icing on the cake. By the way, if anybody knows how to get music licensing, we're in negotiations with a record company, and we're telling these people, like, look, we're not going to earn any money off this Paradise Lost, and my missus is getting hold of record companies. I said, we're not trying to get any money. In fact, we don't want to monetize this video. This Paradise Lost, I want no fucking ads on this. I think that's a big part of our problem right now, is they're just, even if this is just a marketing campaign for Pfizer, right? Everybody needs their vaccine, and this is nothing but just to sell a vaccine, which I don't think it is. I think that's just one arm of this totalitarian bullshit right now. But even if that's all it was a marketing campaign, it's a marketing campaign where they stole shit from us to sell this shit back to us in a major way. We're talking about livelihoods and loved ones. They just ripped it right out and take the fucking vaccine. I mean, Jesus Christ, doesn't that make your blood boil? The vaccine bullshit, the loss of loved ones and livelihoods. And I'm watching. So at the end of the day, when I put on my dinner, I'll put on Sky News and turn the sound down. Just has some background, like, what's going on today? What's the lies today? And some fucker was standing in front of it. They got these big computerized graphs now, and with a bunch of figures on them. And there's some fucker that stands in front of the graph, and he explains what's going on in the graph. And they had, it was a chart that went back that talked about excess deaths, and at the bottom were things like the Great Freeze, World War I. I think it went all the way back to the potato blight. So you had to start from that, the potato blight, excess. And I'm looking at this one. They're losing. They must be losing. If you have to reach for shit like this, but then again, that's because I have faith in the human condition. I don't know why sometimes, but I have faith that eventually people will say they're crazy. These fuckers are crazy. They're talking about the potato famine now in relation to the COVID. Now I was a believer, but now I'm not. And yet that stuff does seem to work, doesn't it? Well, I don't know. I wasn't around for the potato famine, and I'm barely around for this one now. I spend most of my time looking at pictures of thumbs online. That's my own particular thing I enjoy. So don't really have time to do a lot of research into, I know my neighbour's quite, frazzled about this whole putting on a mask thing. He's from America, so I think that's sort of the culture is sort of like, don't tell me what to do. I think it might be a bit of that, but it's well, the potato. If you look at the numbers, I mean, it does seem to be a high number. I mean, what did the government say yesterday? They said 64,000, right? The day before, they said 52,000. I mean, I predict at this rate, tomorrow they might say 74,000. But what if it's 50,000? Then it could be, I don't know. We just have to watch the numbers, see the numbers come in. I mean, 2 is more than 1, 5, 3. But if that R number goes up 1, then they just give up and they go, yeah, put on the mask. I don't know the answer. I mean, that's what they're thinking. I don't know the answer. They're just throwing a bunch of numbers at me, so better put on the mask. Just like they did with climate change. Whereas, common sense, you could take somebody out to the English Channel and say, you see that big ugly wind turbine thing they shoved right in the middle and fucked up the natural beauty of the sea and the landscape? How is that environmentalism? Well, because of the CO2 thing, the climate change with the wind turbine power. So, I guess you're right. Unless you've got a real stubborn sense of free will like I do and say, you know what, you're full of shit. You can quote, these fucking homes across the street, they've got the eco-friendly stamp all over them. Eco, green, smart, digital. They got it all over the stamp. They're proud of it. Look how green. And I know I was fucking here the first fucking day of lockdowns when I saw all you cunts come in with chainsaws next to that fucking care home and wipe out a whole bevy of trees. So you could drive up in a fucking Maserati Garden Coast Construction. I know what real environmentalism is, and these fucking smart home developers like Holloway, Garden Coast Construction, and the fucking bastard Colebrook Sturrock Leasing who's selling these fucking pieces of shit that rammed them through this year. They could give me all the, well, yeah, but if you look at smart home technology, decreases CO2 emissions by what, they could give me any kind of bullshit. I say, that will never change the fact that you had to kill an entire fucking a park-sized garden of trees. Weeping willows, beautiful old trees in front of a fucking care home that we've been told that they suffer the worst because of this virus, real or no. That they're the ones, they're the fucking they're the guinea pigs. They're the ones that have been put out there. They're either guinea pigs, but at the beginning of the year, they're used as little puppets. Like, look at the nurses singing, and they're the patty cake. Look, we do all we can with the patty cake. Treat them like fucking human beings, man. You certainly didn't hear. What do they have left? What do they have left in their, where a government clearly has some fucking, program in mind for the elderly? What do you do? What do you have in your final days? You're in a care home. This is not, you're not with family, especially now you've been denied right to your family. You've got a view. You at least got a view. And I had a view too, But they had a view. They had a much closer view to all. And right there, the first fucking day of lockdown, you're going to give me this shit that we're all in this together. Fuck you. We're not all in this together. You're in it for yourself, you fucking bastard. You either know or you don't know that this virus is fake, but you couldn't give a shit less because you're still coming away a winner. But they'll never be winners in my world. They won't. Because I wouldn't want what they have. It's just a fucking principle. Can anybody not use their eyes? And just look out their window and say, why do they get to work? One of the gifts I'm going to give to the patrons, I ran out of disk space, so I need to clear it out, put some stuff on an external hard drive. But I called the council after New Year's, and they have a COVID helpline. So I thought, well, I'll call the COVID helpline. So I recorded that conversation, and if the patrons are watching, that's coming your way soon. I needed to make some disk space so I could do my little intro before and after. But I just got up and I heard the builders, going at it. tier 4, now new national lockdown, mutant strain. And every day I gotta fucking see people come up to look. Not just the 6 builders, this greedy bastard from Garden Coast, not just the 6 builders to build 6 homes, not just that crew, but the fucking people who come to look at a new home. And his wife, the estate agent, the developer and the estate agent, his wife comes out and she puts on her mask, and the couples put on their mask, and they go in and they look at the fucking homes. And I don't know. Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. But it's just in your face all day long. So I called the COVID helpline and I said, I have a COVID related question. What tier do we need to be at for luxury home developers to lose work as well? No matter what fucking tier we're in, they get to work. Well, because it's outside, because it's socially distanced. And yes, but isn't that interesting? And yet you can be outside protesting in Hyde Park and get your head cracked in by fucking brown shirts. You could do there's all sorts of shit that you can't do outside. You can't sit down and I'll tell you one thing though, that fucker has to wear a mask now. That's funny. He's such a ponce. He's unlike anything I've ever seen in construction growing up with a father in construction. I saw men that working men. There was they drove shitty old beat up pickup trucks, and they built on vacant, empty land. They did not deforest anything to get shit done. They either remodeled buildings that already existed, or they built on level ground. They did not have to raise a garden on the first day of a national lockdown in front of a fucking care home. Because there were people that were too good to live in an old building. Well, I love the fucking old. I think a lot of us do right now. A lot of us love old stuff. We give anything for old stuff. Just old anything. I'm sick of your fucking newness. And the truth is, everybody else is too, and they just don't know how to phrase it. How do I complain about Facebook? I don't know, just complain. Just start. Take your pick. How can I be angry at a mosque? You can be angry at a mosque because that's how the devil would work, wouldn't he? The devil's not going to come in a big, because people will say that's the devil. Fuck that. I don't want to, the devil made himself known. No, that's not that easy. The devil comes in cute little patterns and cute little music that says disinformation, false claim, don't share. It comes with cuteness. Who could be angry at the little kids waving Mao's red book, right? They're just little kids. They're the youth. Oh, they're excited about their red book. I went into Sainsbury's today. I've been going into Sainsbury's for months, not wearing a mask, sometimes singing, sometimes arguing, sometimes raising issues at the till. Like, when is this going to end? Do you think this is going to end? What about Neil Ferguson or Dominic Cummings do you find credible? And if you do think they're lying to us, why are you doing the things that they're telling you to do? Are you just playing on the safe side? That they're gonna reward you for being good? What do you get? What do you get for doing this? You get to look silly. But you don't think you're silly because everybody else in the place is doing the same thing. I'm the one that looks silly. So I've been going there for months, not wearing a mask. Getting into arguments. But nobody stopped me going in to Sainsbury's. I stopped going to Asda because they introduced facial recognition software. And I must admit, on New Year's Eve day, that was the only place in town to get fireworks. And I was not about to have this government say, you need to spend Christmas alone with us. Just you, big tech, big pharma, and the government. We're all going to have a lovely New Year's together. No. We're going out to the beach, and we're shooting off rockets. And we did. We went down there, and it was sad because last year, or 2019 to 2020, the sky erupted with fireworks along the beach. And they weren't even like council fireworks. It was just individuals had gone down. There was an arsenal of fireworks, and nothing was planned, and it just erupted all over and I was so proud to be down here, that local pride, 2019 to 2020. And 2020 to 2021, that from where we were, there was only me and the missus, a group of about 6 people, I'd say 3 people of Indian ancestry on one end, and then a group of what sounded like Polish speakers next to them, and then the missus and I with our rockets, and down on the beach we saw maybe 4 or 5 people shooting stuff off, and that was it. And yet I was that was enough for me. I thought, that's good. Like not everybody is going to cower with Chris Whitty or whoever that fucker was that said we have to accept this. This is going to be a miserable time this New Year's. We have to accept. No, we don't have to accept that. If I have to accept that, you have to accept that there is a divine creator who created us in his image and did not create us to be a membrane of a single cell organism that all acts and moves as one. Why do I have to accept your shit? I don't have to accept that this will be, fuck you. It's going to be a great New Year, and it was. And we had a great Christmas, and I hope you had a great Christmas, and we had a great New Year's, and I hope you had a great New Year's. And that's why I wouldn't say optimistic, but I just kept thinking they're losing. They will lose. Whether they lose quickly or slowly, I don't know. Now I'm starting to think they're going to lose slowly. But they will. They just. I went to Sainsbury's today. Anyway, I gotta say this about Asda real quick. So I went in to buy fireworks from Asda, and there was nobody working aside from the human at the cigarette kiosk. There was nobody working the regular tills. There was just machines, and I hadn't been in there for months. And I asked the lady. I said, "Look, I want to buy these fireworks, but I don't want to use a machine." And then I went on about the facial recognition. I said, I find it really insulting that, this company let people go this year and yet found enough money to bring in a bunch of facial recognition software in those machines. And I referred to the machines as, I said, and all this shit. That's what I said, the machines and all this shit. Anyway, she let me through. I used the human to buy the fireworks. And the missus is with me. And as I'm buying the fireworks, a security guard comes up to me and he says, "Excuse me, sir, the lady over there says you swore at her." And my girlfriend and I just laughed because it was just that incredulous. I said, no. I called the machines shit. I'm allowed to call machines shit, aren't they? I think a machine that spies on you, especially a machine that came in, that the human was gotten rid of and replaced with the machine whose sole fucking job is to study your emotions in your face. And I happen to be one who does this to machines sometimes. I think they're shit. And she knows I said that too. So then we go back and the security guards, yeah. So then I was 3 security guards. First it was 2, and then a third one came in to say, okay, what's going on? Is there an issue? Should I just stand around and look like a man? Should I move one testicle this way, one testicle that? No, I called the machines shit. Are you the guardians of the machines? So then I didn't talk to that original lady, but her manager, as she was ringing me up, I said, I didn't say that. And she said, well, I don't know. I said, no, but you do know because you were there and you heard me say the machines are shit. You know I didn't call her shit. Well, she's my friend, the woman says. I don't care if she's your friend or not. You know that. So then I asked her, I said, what do you think? This is where I guess I'd like to think I was being a little bit John the Baptist, a voice in the wilderness. I don't know why I do this. I don't know what the point is. But I think I do it because I know that's the challenge, is to get you to go, what's the point? What's the point? That's why I ask questions. So I asked the woman, I said, what do you think? They got rid of humans this year and they brought in a bunch of facial. I happen to know people that have been laid off from this store, and they brought in all this facial recognition software. What do you think? And she says, I don't really have an opinion. Wow. You do have an opinion. You just don't want to say it. You do. Or what's even more frightening, maybe you don't have an opinion. Maybe that's how sad it really is. You actually don't have an opinion. It doesn't really bother me one way or the other. As long as there's me and my Swizzle Sticks popcorn and my lounger comforter and my patterned cheetah slippers, I don't have an opinion. Well, I've got a fucking opinion. Lots of opinions. Jesus, man. I never have a plan when I do these things. And it's usually about halfway through, I'm thinking, like, was I funny enough? What am I supposed to be anymore? I don't know. I want to talk about Paradise Lost because it's near completion finally. And it is something else. I'm going to talk about that for a second. I hope you. No, so let me close with Sainsbury's. The timeline. That was the security guards on New Year's Eve. And today I went down to Sainsbury's. This is the 14th of January. And I've been going in there for months without a mask. I mean, that was my go-to place now that Asda's off the menu. And I know all these fuckers are getting. I know Co-op, Alexander, my patron, sent me a link to Co-op's facial recognition software now. Tesco's got facial recognition. I mean, fuck it. What are you going to do? I'm going to have to grow my own shit. Yeah, and you hear these tech creeps. The Google fucker said this. The Google fucker said, well, if you're not doing anything you shouldn't be doing, there's nothing to worry about. Wow. And what do you get up to? How do I turn my camera on you? I bet you. What do you do? What do you do in your private life? Whoever the Google is, it Schmidt? What's this fucker's name? That's it. The machines have become so mainstreamed and part of our daily lives in so many ways. The swipey and the digital and all this shit like that. That to actually make fun of them and to put them down and to go after and to say that they're behind all this shit. The people who make these fucking things. The big tech weirdos, then they do put you in the tinfoil hat cuckoo pot. What? It's like being angry at a brick. It's not angry to be. A brick doesn't spy on you. A brick doesn't study you and try to figure out what you like to buy and sell and try to divide you and split you up and give you a false sense of self-esteem with one hand and with the other hand divide you against your closest friends. I mean, that's the whole racket, isn't it? Absolute structured chaos, really. And you just can't see it because you're too close to it. I don't know. Maybe it's I think about the excitement thing too. That some people are so bored they like the idea of a pandemic. Like, I remember those we had to wear masks, and then we had to get the vaccine. It was a great triumph for British science. Right in the nick of time. It was like just like Arnold Schwarzenegger and all his action films. The government comes there with a vaccine. There was no big explosion. There was no Die Hard. Bruce Willis wasn't wearing a mask, and I thought that's good. Did you see that story? Fuck yeah, Bruce Willis, good for him. And then the next day, the BBC ran a story saying that Bruce Willis apologized about the misunderstanding about masks. And the first thing I thought was blackmail. Did they have something on Bruce Willis? Why? Why are they not turning and flip? Why? How could that happen so quickly? He apologized. It was a misunderstanding. I'm Bruce Willis. Mask. Come on, please, somebody. Is there anybody? Is there anybody who makes over $1 million a year that would be happy living off of half that? Or you might get more. Who knows? If Tom Cruise wasn't shouting at his crew for being too close together, he might actually get more money. I said, my name's Tom Cruise. I used to be able to do movies, and I know some of you don't like me because I'm a Scientologist and all this shit, but I made some good movies. I was in Magnolia. I did a good job in that. I was in Risky Business. Anyway, I lost all my work because I had spoke out about this COVID lie. Anyway, if you'd like to donate $5, I'll make a little movie for you. He can't because he's, now he's anything less than ultra movie star is poor for him. And I guess the same thing for Bruce Willis. Bruce, you'll never work in Hollywood again, but nobody's working in Hollywood. Yeah, but you don't know. He could work again. You want to be working again. So say you were wrong about the mask. I was wrong about the mask. I should have worn the mask, but I didn't wear the mask. So I go into Sainsbury's today, and there's a guy there, and he comes in and he says, "Hello, sir. Do you need a mask?" I said, "No, I absolutely don't," and went on. But that colored my whole trip in the shop. I said, I've been coming here for months, not wearing a mask. Many of you know damn well what I feel about the mask because I've been quite loud about it. About take these things off. What are you doing? even if there was a real virus, the problem is there's so many lies that it's hard to do it all. It's hard to explain it all at a till. So you gotta pick the one, like, and usually I just go for their characters. I see what is it about. It used to be Dominic Cummings, at first, but now he's gone. Supposedly he's gone. It used to be like, what is it about Boris Johnson that you find so believable, like that he cares about you? Try to get quick, because you've only got a few moments at the till. But then it just goes on, and then you find that you can't stop, and next thing you know, you're saying things like, Chris Whitty earned 40 million pounds from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which is what I told him on the way out today. Obviously he's going to toe the company line because he's used to a certain way of living. That's good. It's good. What did I do to get the $40 million from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation? Wasn't bad. I had to plug a vaccine. I wouldn't call it selling my soul. I would call it selling, a form of, medicine, which is what I am. I'm a medical officer. If Bill and Melinda Gates want to give me $40 million, more power to them. I mean, obviously I'm not going to come out and say, don't take the vaccine. The vaccine's a crock of shit and there is no COVID. I'm just going to, look, somebody hires me to do a job, I do the job. 40 million is a nice, hefty chunk of change, That's going to provide for my future, my children's future, my children's children's future, the children's 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 children. We're thinking about it. That's why I'm concerned about global warming too, or climate change or whatever. What's it called today? Climate emergency. Yeah, I'm concerned about climate emergency too. That's for my children and my children's children and my children's 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 children. I want to make sure I get enough money out of that racket too to provide for all of those descendants down the line. So all of my descendants can grow up to be slimy little cocksuckers like me. And take 40 million here, 60 million there, 10 million there. Yeah, I mean, it just so happens I happen to agree with everything the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation says. You like my British accent for Chris Whitty? It's my Chris Whitty accent. This is what Chris Whitty thinks he is sometimes, I imagine. Chris Whitty is really this. He's a very shriveled, old, miserable fucker. He was probably never, I bet he was never invited to any, this isn't his voice either, but it's just, I'm trying to get to the essence of it. We just did something. Weasley little fucking Weasley weedy bastard, Chris Whitty. Never got invited anywhere. Nobody liked him. Never had a New Year's party. All the pretty girls never wanted to see Chris Whitty. And Chris Whitty wanted nothing more than to see those girls in masks. Probably. My girlfriend's got a theory that there's probably some men out there that are happy you can't see women's faces now. Little incel creeps who want to do everything behind a screen. That would never have gone up to a woman at a party and said hello. They would have sat there and judged the woman for being beautiful. You know the type. They would sat there and judge them. Look at her. She thinks she's all hot and beautiful and everything. You know what I would do if I was in control of the world? I'd put everybody in a mask. Incels. Why are we doing the bidding of incels? Or at least incel mentality. Sure, people like Matt Hancock and Dominic Cummings have wives, but they're almost like arranged marriages, I think, at a certain economic strata. It's like, yeah, that'd be good. She comes from good stock. She comes from good stock with a healthy dowry, right? Whereas us filthy working class peasants that they hate so much, we get with people because we love them. It's a totally different concept. We're with people because we love them. And we know about things like joy, and we put it all together, and we say, if we did everything you fuckers told us, we wouldn't have Christmas, we wouldn't have our faces, the list goes on and on and on. If we did everything you fuckers told us to do, life would not be worth living. You are joyless, miserable fucks. I'm Chris Whitty. My name's Chris Whitty by day, but in private, I'm the gum-chewing wise guy. Hey, baby, check the bank account. Did that payment for 40 million pounds come in from the... it will come in under B&M... Wait, Bill and B&M. Bondage and Discipline. The foundation. That's good. Hey, Bill. Yeah. Who we going to knock off this week? Okay. Operation Depopulation. We're not calling it that. Smart. Smart, Bill. Smart. Give it a code name. Like, what are we thinking? Hands, face, space. Kids are going to love it. We're going to invent a pop group because we've been doing that forever. So we're good at this. We can do this. We're going to assemble 4 people and call themselves the Healthies. And they're going to put that to music. Hands, face, space. You're my kind of thing. Hands, face, space. We're doing the right thing. We're going to sell it to the people. And the rest of us are going to look like filthy, feral, scraggly lunatics. So that was the guy coming into Sainsbury's. Now they've got the guy that... Do you have a mask? Do you need a mask, is what he said. Hello, sir. He started with the hello, sir. You know, because they wouldn't do that in fascist places. In fascist places, they would say, "Where is your mask?" So the first thing is to say hello, sir. If you don't want somebody to think that you're living in a fascist state, always start with politeness. I didn't know he was a fascist. He always says please and thank you, ma'am. Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Here it comes. Do you need a mask? Do I need a mask? No, I don't need them. Obviously, I walked all the way from my house to this shop and into this shop and have been doing so for months without a mask. So why all of a sudden would I need one today? Do I need one all of a sudden today because that miserable old fucking sow Preeti Patel came out and said, and if people do not obey the... Is that why I need one now? Or do I need one now because Boris Johnson invented a new number? Why all of a sudden today are you going to ask me, do I need a mask? Do I need a mask because of the luxury homes being developed across the street? Do I need a mask because the only hospital in this town is being turned into 31 luxury homes? Or many care homes in this region are being developed or converted into flats? Do I need a mask because there's compelling video footage all over the fucking internet of empty hospitals? Do I need a mask because I don't know anybody who's fucking had this virus? Why are you asking me this today? Because the government has told you to ask me this question. Hello, sir, do you need a mask? No. I go through, I get my groceries, with that lurking over me. Like, oh, fuck, now they're bringing out the big guns. They're bringing out the hello, sir guys now. Here come the hello, sir guys. Hello, sir. Would you like to stick this DNA-altering vaccine in your body? No. Okay. I'll be back. And next time, I might not say hello, sir. So just be forewarned. Next time, I won't be half as polite. I'll just say, sir. Sir. Hey, man. Sir. Do I fucking look like British nobility to you, dumbass? What's this sir shit? No, I don't need a mask. So I get my groceries, go to the till. And when that happens, you start to think everybody's against you. And you're at the till and they're wearing a mask too. And you just, like I say, I like to make eye contact with people. But I find it very hard when they're in a mask. So the till, now for me, it's like I can't even acknowledge you. If you're not seeing what the fuck is happening now, why of all ages should this age have the most crazy smart virus, just like these homes across the street, just like so many appliances now? Why all of a sudden is this virus is very smart? It can weaponize itself. One radio commentator said, I think on LBC. Actually, the virus has now weaponized itself. It's weaponized itself. So that sounds to me like this is not a virus, but maybe it's a demon. And meanwhile, those of us who do believe in good and evil, heaven and hell, or the mysteries of heaven and the mysteries of hell, nobody knows for sure any of these things. But for those of us who are raised up in those stories, we see real demonic activity in the world right now. And part of that is you're trying to characterize a virus as a free-thinking agent. It's weaponized itself. It went off and got 2 6-shooters. the virus, this mutant virus, who we call Cowboy Jim. We're now calling this virus Cowboy Jim. It's Cowboy Jim 19. It went off and it got some weapons, and this one particularly has the young in its sight. And it spoke to me in a dream. And you're still buying this. That's what I say. It's very hard for me to look. In this fucking light in here, man. I want to show you my bonsai seeds real quick. I'm going to have to wrap up in about 10 minutes because I've got much to do. I've got to teach that course on Sunday, so I need to get my syllabus together. But thank you for your patience. I know it's been quite a few weeks. My God, the lighting's horrible in here. No wonder I'm losing my sight. Okay, how about this? Since I had no plan, I just wanted to check in with you guys. Oh, no, let me conclude the Sainsbury story. You see, this is what you call a long yarn. No shortage of words. I was going to give a 17-hour talk and call it Words Fail Me. So then I'm done at the till, and now I've got to cross by the guy again, the hello sir guy, to get my cigarettes. And so I go past him to go to the woman at the cigarette kiosk, and she has been selling me cigarettes for months before and after this mask mandate bullshit. This woman has been selling me cigarettes. She knows she doesn't even need to ask. She goes over there and she gets the Rothmans. She knows. She knows me. We don't do chit chat. I even before the mask, I found her to be a bit scowly and unapproachable. I don't know why. That different people, whatever. But I always looked her in the eyes and got my cigarettes from her. And all of a sudden, I go there today. I go to the kiosk, and she says to me, "Do you have a mask, sir, or are you exempt?" And I said, "Well, obviously I'm exempt." And I said, "What is this? This is some new thing." Because I said, I've been coming here for months not wearing a mask." She goes, "Yeah, they're telling us to ask now." And I said, "Well, it doesn't make it right." So that was it. And as I'm walking out, I walk by the hello sir guy again, and I said, "This is fascism." And he said, "No, it's not. It's not fascism, sir. It's government guidance." I said, "Yes, government guidance from a fascist government." And then just reaching into the grab bag of everything. But that's the problem, is they've given us too much now, right? To go like, what do you not? You got to pick one. It seems like they've lied to us on so many fronts. What do you start with? Empty hospitals? The hospitals are empty. At least this one is, and I've seen compelling footage that the hospitals are empty. So why? What do they want with the hospitals? So what I did was I reached for Chris Whitty. I said, Chris Whitty makes £40 million a year from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, so his job is to toe the company line. But I realized that you're at a disadvantage if you argue with people in a mask. Because it's sinister. And when they wear them, first off, I don't really hear what they're saying in response. And I can only get a vague gesture from their head. I have no idea what they're saying, but all I know is that they're part of the problem. And especially ones who are doing this as part of their job. They're there to toe the Sainsbury's line, and the Sainsbury's is there to toe the government line, and the government line is there to toe the line of whatever fucking eugenicists want this earth depopulated or controlled. But time to be positive. Now, a lot of idiots over the years, Oxford, Cambridge idiots, Harvard, Yale idiots, they were taught books 1 and 2 of Paradise Lost. It's the 1-2 shuffle. And they were taught books 1 and 2 with, and the teacher might say, and I know this is as both a former university student as well as a former university level teacher, that many teachers will tell their students, and if you want to read the rest, it's Paradise Lost, but just read the first 2 books and we'll discuss that. Now the problem, of course, is the first 2 books, God, Adam, Eve, none of those characters are in it. Only Satan and his minions are in books 1 and 2. And these are the people, for years, people have been saying things, something you would hear at a dinner party, because who doesn't like a good dinner? Like, Satan has all the best lines, and they get the poem wrong. Satan is not the good guy. To Milton, he was Charles II. He was somebody who gave you the illusion of freedom with all this opulence and this greed. It gave you the illusion of like, no, we live well in England. We live well. We have a monarchy again, and we live well and splendid because we believe in freedom. Gaudy, tacky, licentious. But that was the illusion of freedom. Right? That was one of, Milton's banes, right? The monarchy. So the idea of, so for example, the book 2 begins, with the words, high on a throne of regal state. That's where Satan sits in hell. He sits on a throne of regal state. See, I know this is getting bad here. I'm going to have to wrap up soon. They're even taking my light away. So a lot of people walked away and they go, Satan is so cool. He humanizes Satan. But he doesn't really. Satan abuses the term freedom. Just like these cocksuckers in control of the world are abusing the word freedom. Oh, you can have your freedoms back after you take the vaccine. You might have your freedoms back after the vaccine. How's that? A little bit better. You might have your freedoms back after the vaccine. Well, you don't do that with freedom. Freedom is free no matter what. Life is life no matter what. It doesn't come with any conditions. These are God-given, inalienable rights. This is where the United States Constitution, and I'm not even mentioning the capital thing because I think that's part of the fakery. It's to get people to say rah rah Trump, rah rah Biden, instead of saying who the fuck is making us wear masks. That's all part of the stage show, just like George Floyd was much earlier on. Remember how they threw that at us like a rock. Here's, in case anybody thinks this is weird, we're saying with COVID, with COVID, with COVID. Here's the big rock of racism to get blacks against whites, and they're doing it again with America. Biden, Trump, Biden. Don't you take my Trump away. Don't you take my Trump that fucking did the deals with the 5G companies. My Trump that did the Operation Warp Speed to vaccinate the entire American population. Obviously, Joe Biden, that was so fake, that election. But the important thing is, obviously it was so fake that they kind of wanted to be caught. So the Trump supporters would get all puffed up and angry about Trump and miss the point. This is not about Trump or Biden or Republican or liberal or left, or it had nothing to do with it. Snowflake, woke, in nothing. It is good and evil. And who's ever telling us to wear masks and get a vaccine and QR codes and all this shit, they are fucking evil. And then there are the good and the righteous, many who are suffering in the world right now, whether you're suffering from the hassle of being, where's your mask, or whether your children, it's actually good your children can't go to school now, to be honest with you. But if you're being denied the visits to homes, if you've had your property stolen from you this year, right? If you're being charged council tax in a fucking council that there's no services, even. All this nefarious shit. And they want us to look at this capital stuff. Former Trump voters like myself from 2016, they want us to look at this capital stuff and go, man, they're going after Trump, aren't they? They sure are going. They're going to take my Trump away. I think the truth is, and I don't know about this. I don't know what this QAnon thing. I think from what I understand, my girlfriend's explained this to me. The QAnon thing is they believe Trump knows about this pedophile ring, and he's going to blow the lid on all of this. Well, he's running out of time to say something, isn't he? And he might have look in 2016. He might have been an outlier, but I think what happened in the course of 4 years was somebody explained to him what the rules are. They got to him and they explained what the rules are, and it's not that easy. And there comes that moment, the testing of a man's will, right? Are you with us or are you against us? And how many of us are going to be like Abdiel in book 5 of Paradise Lost, when Satan, abusing the word freedom, says that line that I think is so eerie. And he says, Satan puts forward the idea of who remembers when they were created? And then he says that eerie line, we know no time when we were not as now. And that gets the stupid angels to go, yeah, nobody made me. I'm not going to worship anybody. Nobody made me. He abused the word freedom. And Abdiel, the righteous angel, stands up and says, "Oh, argument blasphemous." And he stands up alone, as Raphael says to Adam, as he's relating the story of this war in heaven. And he relates the story of Abdiel, and he says, though single, in other words, he did it all on his own. He didn't have 10 people with him even, amidst those disobedient angels in heaven. He didn't have a single other angel with him who stood up against Satan. He stood up on his own. In Milton's telling of this story, Abdiel stands up all on his own amidst the jeers and the mockery of the evil and the stupid who followed the illusion of freedom. Just like the people who say, freedom, freedom, free speech, free speech, free, like Brendan O'Neill, right? Perfect example. Spiked online. Free speech under attack, free speech under attack. The motherfucker wears a mask. He wears a mask. He wears a cocksucking mask. And supposedly he's a freelance journalist. What does he need? He doesn't go to, there's no office. What does he go into that he needs to wear a mask? He wears a mask because he, in his essence, is a coward. He was a shit stirrer before that with no principles. And now we see this enacted out in front of us. Those who banged on about freedom are very, very quiet now when the bleeding obvious is staring them in the face. So I look forward to having Paradise Lost for. Oh, I never finished this thought too. I never finish my thoughts. I want to get the rights to the song Inagata Davida. And it's a fucker. And we're trying to explain to this record company, we're not making any money off of this unless somebody wants to become a patron based off of it. But we're not putting any ads on this to generate revenue. We don't play that game. I just want the thing out there for everybody to hear. Paradise Lost. With all the crazy sounds and everything. And I don't know how to do this. I have no idea how this works. I said, basically, tell me how much, and I don't even know if we can afford it, but we just want to use a version of the song. Unless anybody out there has I don't know, let's see if we can get this version first. There's a version by a group called Purple Butterfly. Because the Iron Butterfly version, which I really, really want, is near impossible to get. But the version by Purple Butterfly is pretty good, actually, with the Carmine Appice of Vanilla Fudge playing drums. And so we're talking to this record. I said, look, we're just two working class people. We have no idea how this is done. All I want is for there to be no ads on this thing. I don't want any pop-ups or interruptions, by the tech weirdos. And we felt good because we looked up, Carmine Appice is he's very aware about this Great Reset, as it turns out. So, well, this is good. Be lovely to meet this guy and commiserate with the state of the world right now. But the problem is, oftentimes the people who make the music do not own the rights. And that's why Badfinger, that amazing group Badfinger, no matter what you are, I will always be with you. Or Baby Blue. They have so many great songs. Day after day. 2 of them killed themselves. And it had a lot to do with the fact that they were signing pieces of paper from greedy bastards who pretended that they were their friends. Sound familiar? We just care about your health, right? Greedy, nasty motherfuckers who didn't give a fuck about them, but knew that they were pop hits, that they wrote great songs. And they got them to sign papers, and they realized, sadly, they didn't own their own music. And suicide is never an option, but 2 of those band members killed themselves. So unfortunately, that's the case. And I said, when you're dealing with these record companies, I said to the missus, you're probably dealing with some loser who couldn't even play a single note, that somehow acquired music right. By the way, the Church of England, I also found that owns. They invest in Beyonce songs on top of everything else. These fuckers, because they feel it's better to be in the room. This is horrible lighting, man. I must wrap up. Anyway, this is what it's really all about, isn't it? Mr. Blur, Mr. Blur. Anyway, I want to tell you about my Christmas present, one of my Christmas presents from my lovely missus, and then I've got to get out of here because the lighting's bad, and I'm going to clean the house and prepare for my course on Sunday, which I've explained to the patrons. I get a video copy of that, so the patrons will be getting a video copy of that, a 3-hour stand-up course on satire, borrowing very heavily from what I used to teach when I taught literature, actually, because I believe the literary underpinnings of satire are so very, very important. And if you guys have not read Modest Proposal, I'm sure you have, many of you, but 1729, Jonathan Swift's Modest Proposal, very short read and very, very funny. And whenever I teach satire, I do give a copy to the students in advance of that, and I say, be prepared to discuss that. And what I really love is when Swift, when Swift says, I used to perform that live, actually, believe it or not. When I was teaching literature, another teacher, his wife worked in the opera department, and she got me the powdered wig and the whole 18th century get up, and I would go from class to class with the PowerPoint presentation about how to flay the carcasses and make fine ladies' gloves. I don't want to give it away if you haven't read it, A Modest Proposal, but I've asked the students to read that in advance. But I love the line, I have been assured by a very knowing American of my acquaintance in London. And I always ask the students, I say, why do you think Jonathan Swift in 1729, acting as a satirist, would say American here? I have been, and the Americans suggest, the punchline is that that a child freshly boiled is a delicious meal. Jonathan Swift's satirical take on the English treatment of the Irish. The solution to the starvation problem was to eat their own children. And the joke, Swift says, I have been assured by a very knowing American. And I always ask the students, I say, why do you think he said American? And it's always interesting. It's interesting to see what comes out, especially from English students. Why did he say American? Because, especially in 1729, the snobs in England, and especially those who would have resented the idea of American independence, would have, to bolster themselves, if for no other reason, would have looked at Americans as savages, and not the Native Americans, talking about the actual the colonists, the early colonists. They would have regarded as savages. They're lunatics out there. So I always loved that he used America, and Milton uses America too. In an earlier time, when Adam and Eve feel shame after eating the fruit, he says they gird themselves like the Americas, and he's referring to the American Indians. And but I love the idea that even back in the 18th century, well, especially in the 18th century, that Americans were considered savages. And I hope there's still enough savage Americans left in the world that know that it's not about Biden and it's not about Trump. Your Second Amendment right was to protect you from a government that is overreaching. And I would say not just a national government, but especially a global government. I know. I said at the beginning that I think that they're losing. The bad guys are losing. And they seem like they are. But I know that it's not going to be a gracious losing. They're not going to go away. Okay, you caught us out with the mutant thing. There are going to be hard times ahead. But we must not lose our heads. One final cigarette. So that's coming up. I hope 2 weeks. And I've never rendered a video that size, and I'd like to get a copy of In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida. I don't know. I don't even know if I should have given that away now, but that's the plan. And it's beautiful. And I tell you what, the 1-2 shuffle I was talking about before, Satan has all the best lines. It's some dinner party shit, Satan has all the best lines. No, because there's 9 other books to this massive poem. And when you get to the end, and the Archangel Michael is showing Adam everything that's going to come in the future. The crucifixion, the ascension, the descent of the Holy Spirit, the early disciples, and joy. The message of joy is all through book 12. Joy and the promise of a seed of the woman. Life will continue and triumph over death. That's what the poem is about. And that's what these stupid atheists who took over the universities, they always, the devil, a lot of people have said, in fact, I'm going to write this on the blackboard, so the devil has all the best lines. Look, the devil has some great lines, because Milton, was a great poet. Every character in this poem has amazing lines, but he doesn't have the best, because he's not the best character. He's a loser. He lost, and he will lose again. And a lot of us are going to lose in his game, in Satan's game, or the demonic game. We're going to come out the losers. Some of us will be arrested. Some of us might die. We have no idea how far they're going to push this. Some of us, we're going to come away the worldly losers. But they will never have that beautiful thing within, the spark of joy. And that's what the poem's all about. And man, I'm really happy with what I've done here with the treatment of it. And like when I do the remastering starting tomorrow, like I say, I'm going to go through this as quickly as possible, because when I first heard my book 1, I was like, good. And it's only as the year went on, I've done more intricate things later on. Oh, I wish I would have done that. But I'm not going to do any of that. It's got to be released. So it's just basic. If I think stretches are too loud or whatever. And I think that's probably the way it should be anyways, that as you get closer to book 12, it gets more and more and more elaborate. Because it would have been bad to go the other direction. You start off elaborate, then you get more, okay, I want to get this done. That's not what happened. And book 12 is the shortest, but I spent the most time on it because it's got everything. Book 12 has the Tower of Babel, the parting of the Red Sea, the plagues of Egypt, the birth of Christ, his crucifixion, everything. I was trying to teach myself Aramaic. It was very hard to, for Jesus, being, and I did the Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani when he's on the cross. But the best part was, and I am going to wrap up here, and thank you all, and I'm sorry I've been away for a while. The best part was, after he tells the story of the ascension, Adam basically asks, what will happen to his followers, referring to Jesus? Will they not deal worse with his followers, asked Adam, than with him they dealt? You can just listen to this by now if you want. There's no need to watch me. Look at my light, I'm a light in the world, a light in the world. We are all lights in the world. Those single, be like Abdiel in the midst of that satanic throng in book 5. Be like Abdiel, even if you got to do it all alone. And they'll try to do everything they can to tell you they're not fascist. Hello, sir. My name's Charlie the Cheetah. Hi, Charlie the Cheetah. Yes, sir. I was wanting to know, do you have a mask, sir? Here, do you like my squirty flower? That's very funny. Ha! No, I don't have a mask. Should I wear one? Oh, Charlie Cheetah says, always wear a mask. Of course, this isn't fascism. Would fascism come with Charlie the Cheetah? Charlie the Cheetah, he's a funny guy who wears a cheetah mask. Charlie the Cheetah, hardly fascism. Fascists have had a long time to learn what went wrong and what went right with fascism. Okay, where did the Nazis get it wrong? Okay, how about this? When we get fascism up and running again, make it a little bit cuter, shall we say, than the Nazis. Less bombast, less totalischer Krieg, and more disinformation, false claim, debunked. And meanwhile, let's arrest somebody like Debbie Hicks from Gloucester. This woman filmed an empty hospital in Gloucester, and then they arrested her. And if you get a chance to see her video after the fact, she really explains all the creepy shit the police did to her when she was being held by them illegally, kidnapped and abducted by them. Uh, the worst part was they claimed she was mentally ill because they said, "Do you understand these charges?" She was being charged for filming an empty hospital. And the police apparently said, "Do you understand these charges?" And she said, "No." And she meant that on an ethical sense. Like, no, I don't, ethically, this does not jibe with me why this is a crime. And what did they do? They called her mentally ill, and they assigned a responsible adult to, you know, they said, okay, because she said she didn't understand the charges, she must be mentally ill. Psychotic. And that's how fascism looks nowadays. Oh, you're not fascist because you care about my mental health. I care about my mental health too. That's why I'm not doing a fucking thing this government says to do in relation to this fictitious virus. That's what's keeping me mentally healthy. And you know what? Mental health doesn't look like a comatose person in comfy footed pajamas. Sometimes mental health looks like a raving lunatic. That's what true mental health looks like when the rest of the world has lost its fucking mind. Now, I'll conclude with these lines from Milton. Now, this is a 56-minute book, book 12, in my telling of it. And it's been very after the early disciples die. Milton talks about the people who shall take over the church in his day, the 17th century. So he says, "At length their ministry performed, the good guys, right, and race well run, their doctrine and their story written left, the Gospels, in other words, they die. But in their room, as they forewarn, wolves shall succeed for teachers, who all the sacred mysteries of heaven to their own vile advantages shall turn of lucre and ambition." Now here's the point at which I start to include sound clips of some of the bad guys of our age, interspliced between the poems. I took liberties here because this poem, and especially this book of this poem, is all about liberty, true liberty. Still to act by spiritual, with these to join secular power. In other words, the church is joining secular. Well, what better example could I give than a soundbite of somebody saying, "The Church of England also invests in Amazon," cash register sound effect. And I don't want to give much more way beyond this. But then you have a line like this. Heavy persecution shall arise on all who in the worship persevere of spirit and truth. And I thought I could, I'm not going to keep this in Milton's day because it's relevant for our day. And it's funny because I start the whole thing, the sound effects are very ancient, Egyptian flute, the parting of the Red Sea, a camel caravan, going through the desert. And then when you get to this part, things become very, very modern in the soundscaping. Heavy persecution shall arise on all who in the worship persevere of spirit and truth. And I got two sound effects from a recent protest. One was a beautiful lady. She was being arrested, and I mean beautiful in a spiritual sense, with her husband. And the woman is saying at one point, and she's handcuffed, and she's waiting for the van to take her away. The woman says, "I am happy to be arrested for what I believe in." I got her saying that on that line. And I also got this wonderful man who was arrested for hugging people in front of police officers. And you can hear him in the audio say, yes, human beings in contact with each other. We are not afraid of COVID. And I got those two lines to put in right there. And that's just one of many, many examples of, in the last pages of this poem of saying, okay, where are we now? Where are we now? What good would it do me to not take advantage of where we are now and use these words, because that is what this is all about. Evil people if you say that the solution, that the Church of England is bringing about great change because we sit down in the boardroom with Amazon, horrible people. And also the implication being that we need you as moral harbingers. There we go. How's that? Little Brandy, you're a fine girl. Okay, let me show you, if you can see in this horrible light, one of my Christmas presents. Did you know I used to have a band in high school. I was called Mr. Grow, and I had a backing group, and they were called the Seedlings. You can't even see them now. Let me see if I can hold the phone up here. Look at, oh man. I waited. See, there they are. Look at that. My group, the Seedlings. The missus got me a bonsai tree starter kit. And the rest are in the fridge now for this thing called the stratification process. But this one here, this dwarf mountain pine, there's 7 of them, and they're just growing. And I don't remember the last time I grew anything from seeds. I've never really been a gardener. You know, when I was a kid, I used to help my mother plant like morning glory seeds, and then I read that thing that said you can actually cook them and get high. It didn't work. We did the banana peel thing too, and we also put I remember as kids we put toothpaste on a cigarette, and then we put that in the microwave and we smoked it because apparently that was supposed to get you high. But we found that nothing quite did the trick besides good old marijuana. And then once that was in place, it was away we go. It's too dark now, man. But anyway, I hope the rest are okay. There's 5 different varieties, but this one here, this dwarf mountain pine, has grown so exponentially. And I thought of the persistent. This is the macro and the micro, right? The wisdom of the galaxies and the heavens and everything, all of that beautiful native inherent wisdom, that magic of life is contained within these seeds who are so persistent. And it had been so long since I'd done anything with the seed that I saw this massive rupture in the soil one morning. I thought, that can't be right. That's like to them, that's like the size of an earthquake along a major fault line. And I didn't know what to do. And I thought, maybe I thought the weather might have done this, and I pat it down a little bit. And just as I did, I saw the beginnings of the green. And now it's just growing. So it's, I'm Mr. Grow, and these are my seedlings. And that's the persistence of life. Life will do what it will do. And it's only, if you put everything, I said I was going to have one more cigarette with you. If you put everything together, it's quite a joyless future that they have mapped out for us, and I want no part of it. I want absolutely no part of it. And I don't know. I think a lot of us, we don't know how much time we have left before we get arrested. We don't know, or until we're denied the right to enter a shop. Or they'll want to see papers. Right now, so far now it's just like, no, I don't need a mask. And I find the question insulting. Do you think I don't know my own mind? I know my own mind probably too well. If I knew my own mind to the extent that you seem to know your own mind, I would be in a fucking mask and you wouldn't need to ask me that question. But I know my own mind. And I know my own sense of self-worth. I said we did me and the missus, we did a midnight mass with some Jacob's crackers and a miniature bottle of wine outside a locked church. So I called the day before, and I got the vicar, and the vicar said, well, this sounds like a theological argument. Would you like to email the archbishop? And I said to the man, I said, you know that I know you're a theologian. You answered the phone. You're a vicar. I asked you if you're a vicar. You are a theologian. So because some of my questions are making you nervous, and one of the questions that made him nervous was when I said, do you think that when a government tells the elderly that the best thing for their health is to cancel their Christmas plans and spend it alone this year, do you think that that's actually on the level? I asked this vicar that, and the vicar said to me on the phone, this sounds like a theological discussion. Would you like to email the archbishop? And I said, you are a theologian. You would have gotten a divinity degree. You are a theologian. Why are you afraid to do your job? Because I'm not calling you up with the same government nonsense that makes your fucking fat, comfortable life even more comfortable. I'm not calling up. I'm calling upon you as a man who was supposedly a guardian of the word of Christ and his notion of sacrifice, you fucking sniveling coward. And you're telling me this sounds like of course it's a fucking theological argument, because, motherfucker, you are a theologian. But you're playing administrator right now, you fucking bureaucratic coward. You're playing admin, bitch. And you want me to get on the email, and you want me to email this fucking pimp for Zoom, which nobody pre-2020 had ever fucking heard of. I'm asking you, a man in this fucking town who has a church, and I didn't swear at him like I'm doing now, but I'm asking you, what do you think? Do you honestly believe that the best thing for the elderly over the holiday season is to seal them away from contact from human beings? Honestly. You don't, but you're too much of a coward. And he said that he needed to go because he was working on his sermon. I guess he was going to do an online sermon. And I said, why don't you just cut and paste it from the government website? There's no contrary here. It wouldn't matter if you were leading the service or Boris fucking Johnson was leading the service. It's the same shit. And I said, you're probably going to use me in your sermon now too. I'll be included in that sermon. And of course, not everybody. There are people who are doing the work of the devil, who are being questioning and causing death to people. And I might be included as some anecdotal nonsense, But anyway, I have to wrap up after the series. I don't want to take the piss. It's been weeks since I've talked to the public. I promise next time it'll be funnier. Maybe you bastard. What good is a brandy bottle that won't stand up and prop your phone? We made the missus made brandy butter for Christmas. She made her own brandy butter for our pudding. Celebrate. I was trying to communicate. My mother doesn't know what to believe. And she says, is it bad over there? I said, the fascism is bad over here. Yes, the virus is fine. I have absolutely no fears of the virus. But I have no idea what this psychotic government's going to do from one day to the next. She says, is it bad over there? And I says, well, my girlfriend and I are going to be celebrating Christmas together. And in doing so, we will be breaking what they call law. So, yes, we are in some dire times here. Especially when you've got the church like that. It sounds like a theological discussion. It does sound like a theological. Yeah, why don't I sit down with Justin, the pimp for Zoom Welby, and see if he gives me a fair hearing? What other cretins? So he was on the phone. In all fairness, he was on the phone with me for about 5 minutes, and then I didn't shout this at him, but I just said very matter-of-factly, I said, I understand you're an atheist. I said, I don't know what else to say. We've been through this whole conversation. First off, you deny that you're worse than St. Peter. Peter denied Christ 3 times. And you're denying that you're a theologian. Don't ask me. I said I was a vicar. What I meant was I'm not a vicar. I'm a different kind of vicar. We don't do theology. You lied. You lied to me 3 times. Like you're lying to me. You are a theologian. You want me to go to the Archbishop where my email will be promptly buried? Why would I email him anyway? That's work for me. I'm doing work. I just said, dear Mr. Archbishop of Canterbury, where do I start? You slimy little cocksucker. What else? He's going to answer that email? Jesus Christ, if you believe or not, Jesus Christ in one of the stories, he cures a man possessed by demons, and he gets the demons. He sucks the demons out of him. He didn't come up to him and say, hi, Jesus, I've got a bit of a demon problem. No, he was ranting and raving, and he healed him. You wouldn't even do that to me. You want me to go do some work for the internet and send an email to Justin Welby. Dear Justin Welby, open your churches, you weak man, you weak man. Since 300 AD, people have been celebrating Midnight Mass. So the missus and I went down in front of a locked church, and we filmed it for the patrons. The audio quality wasn't great because the winds were howling. And then after the fact, I found that when I was doing the homily, I was so loud. And I wasn't trying to get attention. It was just, but as this was happening, and I realized the reality of, Jesus, it is Christmas Eve. And it does look like a lot of, because I saw all these lights in the flats. I said, people actually believed this shit. There were no sounds of parties, no strangers saying goodbye, happy Christmas, like nothing. And the missus and I are standing outside of a locked church on Christmas Eve, and I'm pointing at it saying, atheists have seized control of these churches and are now doing the bidding of a corrupt and wicked and evil government, who are in bed with all sorts of creeps, the Moderna vaccine, a company funded by Jeffrey Epstein, and that's how we celebrated Christmas Eve. And there we are. Thank you for your patience. It's still not done yet, and I still have never rendered a 14-hour video, and I have no idea how long that will take, if that's possible. I assume it must be, because people have done 10-hour videos before. I'm waiting to hear about this song as a way of saying, on top of everything else that the evil people want to take away, if the joy doesn't do it for you, if the human lives don't do it for you, if the loss of income, if none of that stuff does it for you, they also want you not to rock and roll and expand your mind and groove and have fun. And, I'm a bit of a bookworm myself, but I do value rock and roll, of course, and just fucking having fun. Joy. And that's why the Ode to Joy plays a big part in this poem, and that's all I'm going to say. The rest is a surprise, but the Ode to Joy. What else? The Ode to Joy. All men are brothers. It's just like that guy said when he was being arrested. Yes, human beings in contact with each other. We're not afraid of COVID. Everybody else playing their part in this fucking lie is you got to pray for them, I guess, because they're missing that spark of the human. They're comfortable now. They're comfortable and they're secure for now. But their lives it's sad. They have no joy. They don't understand joy. They don't understand the depths of despair and also the concomitant heights of joy that come and are a part of the human condition. And bastards like Pfizer have been trying to undo that forever, to get rid of the natural arc of human emotions and try to make everything flatline with their fucking mental health drugs. This is the human experience. It's a beautiful wild roller coaster, and those of us who feel our humanity right now are feeling it now more than ever. And by extension, life more broadly, and the wisdom of these seeds, the wisdom of that seed. See, Chris Whitty, Neil Ferguson, and all these little computer cowards can never make anything as wise and precious as these seeds, who I call Mr. Grow and the Seedlings. They can never make anything that wise. As much as they want to be gods on earth, only a divine creator can give us the wisdom of those seeds and their persistence. Like I said, this can't be right. That's like a major fault line. And yet, look at how stubborn. Life will live. And that's a good message to end on today. Life will live. And next week, we're going to talk to Cassandra, who's going to ask us challenge. It's called a Eat Challenge. Find one person in the world who doesn't enjoy a tasty dish. You'll be searching forever, but we'll have a lot of time in quarantine to search forever. Who doesn't like a tasty dish? With that, the light show is over. Good night, and God bless.